Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back into another edition of Keytime Sports. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the Key on Millions.co. Here is my media feed. Here is my recent segments that I went over. Here is my profile so that you will know it's me. And here is my merchandise. We have so much merchandise that is loading up right now. Here is our dashboard for our merchandise once I can get it up. Here is our merchandise. We also have a couple of new shirts right in here. And also, we have hoodies, sweatshirts, and we will be doing a whole lot of more sweaters for later on this year. So, now let's get into what the New York Knicks have done. Everybody that's a New York Knicks fan, I'm shouting all of you out. Stephen A., hey, you are the main culprit of this. So, New York Knicks right now, they just won their third straight game last night versus the Sacramento Kings, and we all know that the Sacramento Kings aren't going anywhere. So here is the current bracket for the Eastern Conference. You have the New York Knicks, the number 3 spot in the Eastern Conference right now, and also you have the Sacramento Kings almost at the bottom of the basement in the West. But there's one thing that I want to talk about when it comes to the New York Knicks. This is the remaining season outlook for the New York Knicks. Right now, they are 28 and 18. You have, here's the roster. You have OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, Jordan Clarkson, Pam Pacome Didet. You have Muhammad Dawaria, Josh Hart, Ariel Hakaporti, Trey Jemison III, Dylan Jones, Tyler Collett, Miles McBride, Kevin McCullough, Mitchell Robinson, Landry Shamet, Karl Anthony Towns, and Gerson Ushabel Lee. And the head coach is Mike Brown. Now, there's one thing that I want to talk about when it comes to their statistics. The statistics for the New York Knicks. We all know that Jalen Brunson is the leading scorer for the New York Knicks. Karl Anthony Towns has 20.5 points per game. That's what he's currently averaging. OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges are averaging 15.7 points each. Miles McBride, 12.9. Josh Hart, 11.8. Then you go down and the scoring starts to get shallow. Jordan Clarkson, 9.5. Landry Shamet, 9 points. Mitchell Robinson and Tyler Collett, 4.9. Ushabel, 2.8. Kevin McCullough, 2.3. Miles Dwaria, 1.9. Ariel Hakaporti, 1.6. Trey Jameson III, 1.2. Pam Pacone Didet, 0.4. And T. Evawaman, Evuban, Evuban, 0.0. So, New York Knicks, we expected them to be one of the top 3 teams in the Eastern Conference, and they are. They are. But when you look at their schedule, and I'm going to say this, in their last 18 games, the New York Knicks have only won 8. 8 of their last 18 games, they've won 8 of them. And as you can see right here, you see it's just all of these are just uncharacteristic. Well, they lost to San Antonio, so I understand that one. But losing to Atlanta, Philadelphia, okay, Philadelphia, we all know that Philadelphia, they have a fighting chance at making the playoffs. Detroit, tops in the East. I'm going to get into them later on this week. LA, you win in LA, but we all know that the Clippers, they not really going nowhere. You lose to Phoenix. Okay, Phoenix, they have a fighting chance at making the playoffs. You win in Portland. You lose to Sacramento on January 14th. You lose to Golden State. They have a fighting chance. You lose to Phoenix. Like I just said, fighting chance. You lose to Dallas. Now, we all know that Dallas is at the bottom of the, well, not totally at the bottom of the West, but they are not a good team right now. Then you beat Brooklyn, no surprise there. You beat Philadelphia, no surprise there. And last night you beat Sacramento for a 3-game winning streak. Your longest winning streak since late last month. So this is the first winning streak that you've had in a month. In a month. So let's see what the New York Knicks can do for the remainder of their schedule. You're facing Toronto. Toronto is going to make the playoffs. Then you face Portland. You face the Lakers, who have a fighting chance at making the playoffs. Washington Wizards, that should be a win no matter what. Then you have a tough 3-game slate. You have Denver, Detroit, Boston. All are going to be good games and tough games, no matter what. Then you get to Philadelphia, Detroit, and Houston. Going to be a tough 3-game stretch there. Then you get to, and it is not getting any easier. You have San Antonio, Toronto, Oklahoma, Denver, Los Angeles Lakers. That's 4. 4 tough games. Then when we get to March, you have pretty much a easy schedule, easy remaining schedule. You have the Clippers, you have Utah, you have Indiana. Who knows where Golden State will be by the time March 15th gets here. You have Memphis. Memphis is already out of it. You have Brooklyn, Washington. All the rest of these teams that they will be playing in March, with the exception of the Oklahoma City Thunder, are basically out of it. So you have, to finish out the season, you have Oklahoma City, New York Knicks to finish out the season. You have Oklahoma City, you have Houston, you have Boston, and you have Toronto. Chicago, we don't really know what they are going to be like. And Charlotte, we all know that Charlotte isn't making the playoffs. So that is the remainder of their schedule. Now, let's see. There are a few players that the New York Knicks need. As far as when it comes to rebounding and having a big man out there to keep your offensive possessions alive, that is what they need. That is what they need. So when I go back to the roster and I see that Ariel Hakuporti and also Mitchell Robinson, see, they hardly ever get in the game. But see, that is the problem right there. You need a center out there who can get you rebounds and who can keep possessions alive. Because during their losing streak, they didn't have many second and third opportunities at getting points. Now, and I know that they list Karl Anthony Towns as a center, but let's just say this. Karl Anthony Towns is a power forward. Power forward or a shooting guard at the most. At the most, he's a shooting guard. So I don't know if you are going to have Karl Anthony Towns play center when it comes to the playoffs, because if Karl Anthony Towns is playing center, then that is a significant amount of scoring that is going to be decreased, because Karl Anthony Towns, we know that he can score from anywhere on the floor. He's shown us that over the years. And also, he's shown us that he can score 30 to 35 points if needed. But there's one thing, there are a couple of X factors for the New York Knicks that may have to step up in the playoffs, and more than likely they are going to have to step up. And as you can see, when we get to minutes played, hold on, let's see. Minutes played, and all of a sudden, minutes played. I know that there's a, let's say, minutes played. Where is it? Where is minutes played at? So, before I get into minutes played, the New York Knicks, they have no injuries as of right now. Their depth. Here's their depth. Starters: Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, and Karl Anthony Towns. Now, their second unit. Miles McBride is playing two positions. Is he going to be able to hold up in the playoffs? You cannot have one player playing two positions. Well, you can, but you still have to play defense. You have to defend on the defensive end just like you are efficient in the playoffs on the offensive end. So Miles McBride, he may have to, he may be lacking in something when it comes to the playoffs. Then you have their third lineup: Tyler Collett, Landry Shamet, Jordan Clarkson, Mohamed Dwaria, Ariel Hakaporti, and also Jordan Clarkson, their fourth lineup. Jordan Clarkson is playing two positions: point guard and shooting guard. Then you have Josh Hart, who is their small forward. So when it comes to these guys, I'm seeing a lot of players playing multiple positions, and we can see on this depth chart where Josh Hart, he plays in three lineups and he's playing different positions. Starting lineup, shooting guard. Then the fourth lineup, he's playing small forward. Then he's playing power forward in the fifth lineup. So are the New York Knicks as a team, are they going to be able to make it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals? Who knows? But I'm going to give y'all something. Best case scenario for the New York Knicks, NBA Finals champion. That would be the best scenario. That would be the best story. And we already know how much money that would generate for the NBA Finals. Just by it being in New York, the Mecca, the Garden, whatever you want to call it. MSG, whatever you want to call it. The New York Knicks being in the NBA Finals, that is what we all want. That is what we all need when it comes to viewership and ratings. Now, dream scenario for me is to have the Los Angeles Lakers and the New York Knicks in the NBA Finals. The two biggest sports markets in America and in the world are on the grandest stage in the NBA. But before I get into that, I just want to look back at the New York Knicks history when it comes to this. You know, because they always start off good in the regular season, but when it comes to the playoffs, they've always had, haven't really had the best success. I'm gonna start back at the inception. So the inception of the New York Knicks, 1946 and 1947. They were third in the Eastern Conference, 33-27. They won the first round versus the Cleveland Rebels. This was before they changed the name to the Cavaliers. Lost to the Philadelphia Warriors before the Warriors went to Golden State and before Philadelphia became the 76ers. Now, we fast forward to most of the 50s, didn't win a championship. Most of the 60s, as you can see, when it comes to their records, didn't win a championship in the 60s. When we get to the 70s for New York Knicks, hey, Willis Reed was the MVP. We also know that the 70s was the golden age for basketball. And also, when we get to 1970, they won the conference finals over the Atlanta Hawks 4-1. Also, when we get to 1972, they won the conference versus the Boston Celtics 4-1, but lost the NBA Finals to the Los Angeles Lakers. They did. But the next year, they won the NBA Finals versus the Los Angeles Lakers. And we get the present day. Present day, it has been, let's say, 72 to 2026. This would be 54 years if they don't win it this year. It would be 54 years that the New York Knicks haven't won a championship. Now, we get to 70s, the rest of the 70s, they didn't win anything. The 80s, New York Knicks didn't win anything, but they made it to the playoffs. 90s, New York Knicks didn't win anything, but they made it to the finals in 99. And they lost to the San Antonio Spurs, 98-99 season, they lost to the San Antonio Spurs. And they went on a downward spiral for about a good 15 years there. 99 to 2000, they were just god awful. The early 2000s, they were god awful. When we get to 2008, we already know that those were the Isaiah Thomas years. They were not watchable. We get to 2012, 2013. You had Mike Woodson as head coach. You couldn't get past the second round of the playoffs. And we get to 2015, 2016, pretty much unwatchable. We get to 2017, 2018, pretty much unwatchable. We get to 2019, 2020. You're starting to get back to the playoffs on a regular basis with Tom Thibodeau. But Tom Thibodeau, one thing I say about him, he didn't value his bench production enough. He didn't. And then we get to recent success where you do get to the playoffs with Tom Thibodeau in 22, 23, and in 24 and 25. You get to the playoffs with Tom Thibodeau. You lose to the Cavaliers in 2022. You lose to the Philadelphia 76ers in 23. You lose to the Detroit Pistons last season. And now we get a new head coach in there, Mike Brown. And at times this season, it seems like that he doesn't know what to do. And it seems like when it comes to, we already know different lineups, and we already know that the players throughout the season, they get injured, little tissue injuries here and there. But the one problem that the New York Knicks have is the top two in the East, because the Detroit Pistons are no slouch, America. Detroit Pistons are no slouch, and I will be doing a segment on the Detroit Pistons because I know that the Detroit Pistons are a young, up-and-coming bunch. But as I look at my other board right now on my wall, I see that the Detroit Pistons are the youngest team in the NBA, but they have playoff experience because they made it to the playoffs last year and they faced the New York Knicks and lost in 6 games to the New York Knicks. So we already know that the Detroit Pistons have playoff experience. Now the New York Knicks are a team that has been to the playoffs the last 3 years. Every year you have gotten a round deeper into the playoffs. This is why I say worst case scenario is not making it to the NBA Finals, losing the Eastern Conference Finals again. Best case scenario, winning the NBA Finals for the first time in 54 years. But if the New York Knicks do not have home court, I can see them losing in the first or second round. Stephen A. Smith, I know he's always talking about with the New York Knicks, it should be orange and blue skies. But if the Knicks don't make it to the NBA Finals, I already know what type of color skies that he is going to be looking at. He is going to be looking at dark, smoky, gray, gloomy skies. Because the New York Knicks, it's been a while since the New York Knicks have been relevant to this sort of stature. I believe when I was in middle school, this was the only time that the New York Knicks in the past 25 years were relevant. We can go back to 2000, but that was 25 years ago, and not too many people remember 2000 like that. Now, like I said, 2000, it was a different world back then. The iPhones wasn't even invented yet. Hell, computers wasn't in every house like they are today. So we are in a different climate where we have social media, where we have what I'm doing right now, where you could just turn on a computer and a camera, and all of a sudden you got you a show. But the one thing that I want to focus on, and this is like what I'm going to say, and then this is the finality of my segment for the New York Knicks. If the New York Knicks cannot be able to rebound effectively in the playoffs, defend effectively in the playoffs, they are going to lose. This is almost like what they have experienced over the past 3 seasons, where everybody plays the maximum to their potential in the regular season, and by the time you get to the playoffs, everybody is worn out. So that's why I say most of these head coaches in the NBA, do they know how to preserve their bench? Because you are going to need significant amount of bench production when it comes to the playoffs. And for the New York Knicks, I'm not wishing bad on the organization. Now, hey, New York, we already know how New York is, and we already know that New York Knicks fan base, it's a rabid fan base. So please, 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 in the comments, do not start talking smack, because I'm just delivering the facts. I'm just giving you the truth. Stephen A., please, please, please call off your fellow New York Knickerbocker fans. Please, because I'm just giving them the truth. And also, Karl Anthony Towns, he could be traded. Now, NBA trade deadline is February 5th. What are the New York Knicks going to do? Is Karl Anthony Towns going to stay, or is he going to go? Because you need perimeter defense if you are the New York Knicks. You do. Now, for the finality of the New York Knicks, do I see them getting past the first round? I'm going to give you all I'm going to give you all who they would play, projected playoff matchup, because we're getting to that time in the season where New York Knicks, if the playoffs were to start today, the New York Knicks would be facing the Philadelphia 76ers. That's if the playoffs start today. And from what I see, I see the New York Knicks winning a first round playoff series if the bracket holds up like this. I can see the New York Knicks winning a first round playoff series. Now, who they are going to play in the second round, that remains to be seen, but New York Knicks and 76ers playing in the first round, that's a good matchup to watch. I would love to watch that. And I'm pretty sure New York Knicks fans would watch that too. But see, here is when it comes to the bracket. I'm just going to give y'all topics when it comes to these teams. Detroit Pistons, still young and upcoming. Boston Celtics. We still waiting on if Jason Tatum is going to come back and be ready for the playoffs. New York Knicks. What are the New York Knicks gonna do? You've made it to the playoffs last 3 years. Can you can you make some hay? Can you get a championship, or are you going to be eliminated? Toronto Raptors. We didn't expect the Toronto Raptors to be this good this season. Newcomers on the block as far as Toronto Raptors. Cleveland Cavaliers in the same boat as the New York Knicks. Past 3 years, you've made it to the playoffs. You've gotten deeper every year, but you haven't been able to get to the NBA Finals. Philadelphia 76ers, Joel Embiid, that is the only topic for the 76ers that we are thinking about. It comes down to Joel Embiid's health. Miami Heat, we don't know if the Miami Heat are going to be a strong enough team to go deep into the playoffs. Orlando Magic, newcomers on the block. Chicago Bulls, we don't know if they are going to be there in the end. The Atlanta Hawks, we don't know if they're going to be in there in the end when it comes to play-in tournament and playoffs. So that is all I have to say for the Eastern Conference bracket. And New York Knicks fans, I want to see you happy, but I got to give y'all the truth. Stephen A., I got to give you the truth too about your team. So, all in all, the New York Knicks, they are currently on a 3-game winning streak, and I hope that we are able to get the finals in New York. My dream final scenario is the Los Angeles Lakers and the New York Knicks, the two biggest sports markets in the world. We want them on the grandest stage of them all in the NBA Finals. Let's see if that is going to happen, and it remains to be seen. So, please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the Key on millions.co. Here is my profile, just so that you will know that it is me and you know that you're coming to the right place. My profile, here is my merchandise. We also have new merchandise. We are also rolling out new merchandise in February and March. We also rolled out new merchandise earlier this month. We have 3 new shirts that are on the docket for this month, and they are already right here. Here are the prices, and anybody, and I do mean anybody, can go on millions.co and purchase these shirts right now. You already see the price, so the prices are visible, and the status is active on these shirts. And also, here is my media feed for all of my latest segments. We got the NFL Conference Championship reaction. I just did the Milwaukee Bucks yesterday, and I just completed my New York Knicks remaining season outlook when it comes to right now. So, everybody, remember one last thing. The key is always on time.